In the past, we defined a standard relationship as full-time permanent work. This is not true anymore because we have deregulation even of the core employment standards. So we have many full-time workers in the US, in some European countries, like in my country, in Germany, with low pay, and this is not a standard employment relationship anymore. It's a very deregulated and fragile position these people have, and they have to struggle to survive. It's a worldwide trend. If in many countries governments subsidize non-standard employment relationships because people there don't get sufficient wages and social benefits by so-called in-work benefits. But this is a very costly solution because companies are not obliged to pay decent wages and provide benefits, and the state has to come in, and this in the long run will undermine the state and especially the social welfare state because it's just too costly. We didn't need a minimum wage in Germany for most of the period after the Second World War because we had a very high coverage by collective bargaining. But this was eroding and coverage went down, and suddenly we found that in Germany we have a huge low-wage sector, and after a 10 years campaign, finally a minimum wage was introduced, a campaign organized by the unions, but the unions also convinced political parties and got support from many NGOs in Germany. I think what happened in Germany is we were looking eastward and westward, and when we were looking westward we found that in France, in Belgium, the Netherlands they had a minimum wage of €9.50, and when we were looking eastwards to Poland and the Czech Republic we found that minimum wages were much lower, and so we chose something in between, especially because in East Germany wages were substantially lower and they were also under the pressure from migrants from Eastern Europe. The unions were in the beginning afraid that a minimum wage would undermine collective bargaining, but then they found that in the areas where the minimum wage would really bite and increase wages, there were no collective agreements anymore. So I think the minimum wage is creating a lower floor now. And the German minimum wage law was part of a whole package of laws, and the package was called Law to Strengthen Collective Bargaining. So other parts of the packages increased or facilitated the extension of collective agreements. So the actors, the unions, the government in Germany want not only to introduce a minimum wage, but also to strengthen collective bargaining. We have so many changes that this is a big construction site and we have to do many things. There's a need of equal pay between men and women. There's a need to cover all forms of migrant workers by regulations at national level, for example, also posted workers. We have equal pay for fixed-term workers by a European directive, but not for posted workers. And then we have to modernize our traditional standard relationship. It was based on a male breadwinner model, and we need to include part-time work. For example, following the Swedish model, in Sweden or Denmark or Norway, part-time is a normal period in your work life when you have children, when you need to reduce your working hours for training, and then you go back to full-time work. And this is a kind of flexible standard employment relationship, which I think is a very good model to extend the coverage. And a third point, this is especially important for the ILO, we have to defend multi-employer collective bargaining, which is deregulated by the Troika in Southern Europe.